Hi, this is my presentation on digital citizenship and why we must all become digital citizens. Um, what is digital citizenship? It refers to the responsible use of technology by anyone who uses computers, the internet, and digital devices to engage with society on any level. So, why should we teach digital citizenship and what can we accomplish and why does it matter? Well, there's five key elements to that. The first one being information literacy, and then cyberbullying prevention, online safety, teaching digital responsibility, and the health and emotional wellness in the digital world as we interact and teach our students to interact with the world through technology. So it is a law. There's several laws that protect our student information and family information of our students at the school, but there are also laws that require that we protect how our students engage with information on the internet and through technology means. There's SEPA, which is the Child Internet Protection Act, and then COPA, which is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, FERPA, which we should all be familiar with as educators, and then Section 221.5, I think it is, for promoting online safety in schools, and that's a special section that we'll address in a little bit. So E-rate is a part of SEPA. It's a funding service that is available for schools to apply for. They have to apply for the funds, and they can use it to purchase hardware, internet access, telecommunications for student learning opportunities. And it's not just restricted to K-12 public schools. Libraries can also apply. Nonprofit organizations that provide services for children, private and parochial schools with an endowment that's less than 50 million. So the SEPA Internet Safety Policy is one clause, one part of the SEPA Act, and it requires that schools have internet must certify, provide proof that they have a safety policy in place and it's being monitored, and that it protects children and adults from visual images that are obscene, child pornography, content that could be harmful to minors and adults. So digital citizenship, how can we teach it? How should we teach it? Well, there's a lot of elements for us to focus on and to make sure that we touch on through different lessons and activities. First one being empathy, having empathy for others and really thinking before you engage with people on the internet and comment, and think about trying to tell your students, would you say that to their face? Is that putting yourself in their position before you type, or when you read something that's maybe hurtful or harmful? Establishing a level of empathy towards others, and then letting that be our moral compass that guides us. And then a basic understanding of the internet should be taught, data and how it's used on the internet. The difference between clickbait, which is just trying to get you to click in order to have a means to an end for the front user of the website, and then fake news, information that's been put out there that is not accurate, it's not sourced very well, and teaching our students how to distinguish between what is factual and a reliable resource and what is not, and how to think that through, how to investigate it for themselves so that they can be lifelong responsible users of information that they get from the internet. And then teaching students to be a good digital citizen requires practice. By the end of this presentation, I'll be able to say digital citizen without feeling like I'm having struggles. Anyway, back to it. So we need to teach them to practice being a good digital citizen, and the digital divide between, I made a note here, so I want to make sure I touch on it. The digital divide, I want to make sure I read this, is the disparity between those who have access to modern digital tools like computers and the internet and those who don't. Okay, so I want to just read that so that I said it correctly, because the internet and technology and computers in a lot of homes is very much a luxury in the US, and that is not the case in a lot of other countries in the world, especially our third world countries. And so there is a digital divide in the sense of false affluence or false um, notoriety of information based on our access here in America. And we need to make sure that our students understand that digital divide, and not everybody has access to the same information, or they're being provided piped in information that is very much programmed and restricted by their governments. And so being aware of that um, can affect poverty and generational wealth or generational poverty. And the way we interact with the world needs to be guided with a level of empathy and understanding towards that. And then teaching social emotional lessons will come in to play here when we're teaching digital citizenship and how to take care of ourselves, not spend 12 hours a day looking at a screen. And then finally, security and safety, how to protect ourselves, our information, and our identity when we are engaging on the internet and interacting with and interfacing with other people. So, technology guidelines in school. There are three elements to that. We need to educate, respect, and protect. So, in educating, we need to educate ourselves and others as far as literacy and communication and commerce. So, how are we interpreting literature and other parts of understanding, our ability to understand what is there? How do we communicate with others, and how do we handle finances and other monetary essentials through internet means? And then respecting yourself and other, your proper etiquette, how you interact with people, how you respond things, how you type it, is all caps okay or not, and how can people receive that? Do we still need to use proper grammar and punctuation when we're communicating with people digitally? Those are all things that we need to address as teachers when we are teaching technology guidelines in school. And then access, how much access do we have and or should let ourselves have, and what are the laws regarding access, usage of information, copyrighted material, copying and pasting images, and then protecting ourselves, our rights, our responsibilities, security and safety that I mentioned in the last screen, and then health and wellness, our social emotional um, aspects of how we interface with the internet and engage. So, as an administrator, my responsibility in communicating all this out to the staff in my building is, number one, I need to make sure that teachers are aware of the safety concerns and that I help empower them to handle all of this information and teach safety strategies to their students, and help teachers to teach awareness of their digital footprint and have them teach it to their students as well. We all need to be aware of our digital footprint and encourage teachers to have their students ask 5 key questions, which are what impression am I giving? Do I really want this information online and available to anyone? Am I sharing too much? Am I oversharing too much information about my personal life? And would I want someone else to share this information I just put online? If you put it online, it's likely somebody's going to see it and they're going to tell somebody else. So, do I really want everybody to know that information? And does it pass the newspaper test? And helping teachers to establish a positive culture for online use will help them in the classroom to teach that to their students. And then I also feel like an administrator responsibility is to help provide curriculum and lessons that help facilitate and make it easier to teach these concepts and incorporate them into their teaching. And then finally, being a culture of yes in the classroom, and yes in launching digital tools, not being so afraid of the internet and interfacing with tools on the internet that we just lock down our internet in the district so tight that it can't be meaningful interaction. And we need to teach the responsibility and not just lock everything out and make it a problem for somebody else on another day after our students age out of the system. So, more than compliance, as an administrator and as an educator, it's important that we recognize that this is more than just legal compliance where we're trying to follow rules for the E-rate funding, and just more than filtered internet and more than teaching internet safety. It is a moral imperative. That fourth point I'm getting to. We're not just checking boxes. We need to be teaching lifelong lessons that will apply well beyond the classroom and continue to follow students all of their life as they are interacting with digital content and technology. We need to set clear expectations for our classroom and for our building and for our district, but we also need to set expectations of how we expect our students to engage morally and ethically with others in the digital world. And that requires ongoing training for my staff and ongoing conversations with students about what is digital citizenship and how do we interact and interface with the rest of the world, and how do we protect ourselves and protect others. So some resources, I've linked them here. If you open up my presentation later, you can click on any of those blue links. I've given you 4 different sections. So there are student resources. These are all self-guided activities that you can give to students to help them with learning about digital citizenship and parsing that out into different um, lessons and different content points. I'm searching for a word there that I can't come up with. Anyway, the next section is teacher resources. These are all links to curriculum, lesson, activities that can be facilitated by the teacher rather than the previous section, which was self-guided student resources. And then a couple of links for some additional professional development that I could use in my building with my staff, or they could go to on their own if they would like to learn more about professional development regarding digital citizenship. And then that final one is a link about how to keep yourself safe and keep your information safe and protected on the internet, and then also how to communicate that to your students, and a mini lesson in there about digital safety. So this is my standard correlation and how this module assignment was relevant to the standard. That first one, the correlation, is that one of the key descriptors of standard 2.1 specifically mentions digital citizenship and other key aspects of digital citizenship, such as integrity, trust, reflection, and lifelong learning. All of those are descriptors in that standard. And these are all elements that are required in implementing a well-rounded education to students through the use of technology and the internet. This is relevant because I have previously heard of digital citizenship, as most teachers have. It's a required part of school curriculum and a common topic of professional development. I was not aware of the legal aspects of digital citizenship and the requirements and restrictions for receiving funding from the government through E-rate. I wasn't aware of that. Digging into the CEVA laws and the congressional report from the FCC made me realize the implications for our district and how I should pass along these elements to my staff. It's my responsibility to make sure they understand the legalities and to ensure that everyone is on the same page and understands the requirements, as well as the learning goals that are set out. My reflection piece is that I appreciated all the information in general. In order to understand that there is more to digital citizenship than just another educational agenda for 21st century learning, it's essential to read all the legalities and strict requirements in order for me to fully understand the implications and possible outcomes for myself and my staff when applying to receive funding for equipment, the internet, and other resources. Even so, the article about teaching digital citizenship being more than a requirement but a moral imperative in order to fully equip our students to be safe and responsible users of technology and the internet really connected with me. It really helped me to see that it's important to communicate to our staff just the how vital it is to prepare our students to be lifelong users of technology and the internet, and how to protect themselves and be ethical, um, good stewards of that aspect of our lives. And it's important to tell our staff that and why and how this impacts our students and their future. And it's vital that we must communicate early and often in order to help our students protect themselves, sometimes from their own potential actions. And I'm really thinking about that as a high school teacher. I think students just, they act and they don't think, and they don't realize how something can follow them and impact scholarships and future employment and all of those aspects of their life. So that is my presentation. These are my references, and thank you very much.